Hello, dear student. Welcome back to the Daneliherald Academy. This is the second module on the training of graphic design. I want to assure you that this training will radically change your life. And by the time you're done with these 13 weeks, I can assure you that you're going to have a wonderful time. Practicals are coming. Excellent practicals are coming. This is the second module and it is called the Basic Principles of Design. I tell you, to excel at anything in life, we really need to understand the basic principles because this helps us to navigate through challenges. As you begin to advance in your learning of design, of graphic design, all those basic principles, when they stick to you, it helps you to churn out excellently designed jobs. You stand out from among the rest. You begin to bring your design to life. I'm sure by the time you're done here and then you pick up some wonderful done graphic designs, you begin to understand what was in the mind of the designer when he carried them out. And then you also begin to understand whether a designer understands the principles of design or not. You begin to appreciate a good design when you see it. If you apply the designs in this module, you will avoid design calamity and you'll be able to get your desired message across with clarity and ease. Now, please understand that all the principles are inter-applicable, which means that none of them stands alone. You have to use a combination of these principles on your design projects. The first one is unity/harmony. Unity or harmony. We're going to look at 5 basic subsets in this principle, the principle of unity and or harmony. The first is proximity. This proximity. Proximity is a sense of distance between elements. Now, I want you to understand that you need to have these at the back of your mind. It's not for you to memorize it, but it's for you to understand it, understand all of them, and be able to apply them. By experience and by the use of these principles, you get better at them. So they're not rocket science. Nothing here is rocket science. It's just basic, and I'm sure you'll get them. Now, back to proximity. This sense of distance between elements. If you observe these circles, you will realize that there are some of them that are closer to one another than others. Look at this ones 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Yes, 7 of them. You will observe that they have like equality among them, the spaces in between them, and then the ones that surround them have this kind of harmony. Their relationship is kinds of match one another. The 7 at the center, yes, the 7 at the center have almost equal number of spaces, and then the rest around them, this is 2 plus 4, 6, 8, 10, and 11. You see, so you need to put in practice the proximity. You need to have it at the back of your mind. As you go on, you begin to understand which ones are actually relevant, on what projects. The second one is similarity. Similarity is ability to seem repeatable with other elements. Look at these. If you observe these 2 sets of shapes, you will get that they are grouped according to their similarity. Similar shapes together. The shapes below are squares and they are black. However, the shapes on top are not the same, but they have something in common, and then they are grouped together. They are not the same shapes, but they have the same color. We'll go there shortly. Now, the principle of continuation is the sense of having a line or pattern extend. If you look at these, you'll see that they are aligned on the center, on the top, and on the bottom. The second also on the center, the second line also, all the circles are aligned. Bottom, all the circles are aligned. The most important part is that you'll see that they are parallel to one another, and there is this visual sense that there is possibility of their extending. So this is not just all about it. There is possibility of these lines extending. It's a visual effect that you want to have on your desired audience. The fourth one is repetition. Elements being copied or mimicked numerous times. Look at this. Among all the circles here, you will realize that all the shapes are the same. However, their placement has this kind of uniqueness. The biggest circle and the next one in size seem to be opposite each other. The smallest circle and the third seem to be opposite each other, and then second to the smallest and the smallest also have this second, they seem to be opposite each other. This is repetition. Same shape but in different sizes, arranged in a format that seems to be like you're repeating it and then you're reducing the size. You can see all of them face one another almost at the same angle but slightly inverted. What do I mean? 45 degrees to the left and then 270 to the right. So that's a form of repetition. Same shapes, there is nothing among all of these that is different. They are same shapes, same color, just size, and then the angle of relationship with one another. Rhythm is the next one, the fifth one, under unity, the principle of unity and harmony. Rhythm, achieved when recurring position, size, color, and use of graphic element has a focal interruption. I will explain this to you. Look at these 4 circles. They're different in shape. They're different in sizes, the same shape. But if you try to look at the center, watch the line I am drawing with this cursor, you will discover that they all have the same focal point. They're all cut across from the same center. Their centers are aligned. I think that's the right word to say. Their centers are aligned, and this is no random arrangement. They are arranged according to the size. The second basic principle we'll be looking at in this module is balance. And there are 3 basic explanations to balance, or applications to balance. The first one is symmetry. Look closely, my friends. What do you see? There seems to be an arrangement on symmetry. Let's talk about symmetry right now. There seems to be an arrangement of symmetry that catches the eye. There are 8 circles here. Instead of random arrangement, you are having them, the first 4 on the left, the next 4 on the right. They are basically the same arrangement. If you look at the spaces in between all the circles, between the one circle and the next, is basically the same shape. So this one looks like a duplicated set of shapes that's inverted, and if you look at the distance between here and here, seems to be very close to the distance between here, and they are just mirrored. So symmetry is a situation whereby elements on either side of the axis are arranged similarly. Asymmetry is the second one under the basic principle of balance. Elements on each side differ in shape but still are in visual equilibrium. This is how it is. You have 8 shapes, and then you group the 4. This is what was done here. This is just an example. It's applicable in almost all forms of design. You group together the 4, some similar shapes, and then these are the dissimilar shapes. These are the dissimilar shapes. However, they are still arranged just like the similar shapes, and they are just basically inverted with the spaces in between them, just like this. They're not the same shapes, but you are having the same visual equilibrium. They seem to be just alike. Yeah, they may not be the same shapes, but they are carrying similar arrangements with each other. So you look at 2 groups. This group looks like an inverted D, and then this group looks like D. Not similar shapes, but they form this asymmetric effect that makes your audience to understand exactly what is going on. The third one under balance is radial, and I think this is pretty clear. Radial describes a situation where elements are arranged around a circular form. You see, you have almost same distances in between the circles. It doesn't matter if they are the same shape or not, but it's just arranged in a circular form. Now we're going to hierarchy. Hierarchy describes an arrangement of elements in a graphic design that follows a certain pattern of authority, so to say. So there are 3 basic arrangements under the principle of hierarchy. The first one is trees. I'm sure you must have seen something like this, where we have the father, the next generation, and then the next generation. It's just like a filial arrangement in family trees. Now, elements are arranged in the order of a tree with a trunk, branches, and sub-branches. You can have them as parents, children, and grandchildren, but this is used to explain a certain relationship in order of hierarchy, authority. So you need to get used to this. Most times it's used for data analysis, so what you're presenting is clear in terms of the hierarchy of the system. Nests is the next one. On the nests, elements are mapped onto each other as parents, children, and grandchildren. I think I mentioned that before. But the difference in the other one is that it's forming like a family tree, like a tree. However, in this other one, they are joined together, kind of. If you observe, the circle in the center is the biggest. You can call the parent, you can call the grandparent, whatever you choose to call it. But just understand the principle. Is the biggest. The next in line are nested to them, to the top, to the bottom, to the right, and to the left. However, the ones on the right and the left also have some other circles attached or nested to them, top, bottom, right, on the left as well, top, bottom, right, and you see this kind of equilibrium that is formed. Or you don't have a situation whereby this big shape is attached to a small one. No, it is the small one that's attached to it. So they seem to be diminishing in authority or in age or in hierarchy, depending on how you see it. This particular principle is most useful in infographics designs and maybe presentations, and you're trying to have a logical explanation in terms of hierarchy. Then the third element under hierarchy as a basic principle is weight. Elements of the same weight belong to the same class of hierarchical positions. If you look at it, these two rectangles seem to be the same. So this arrangement is basically, you don't have it randomly done. It means that immediately after this is next. Immediately after this is next. So this is used basically for lines. When you are arranging your lines, I'm sure you will understand this better when we get into the practicals. But you need to understand the principles. So the thickness of your lines, you group your lines, according to the thickness. You group the lines according to the thickness. So you don't have any disarray in the arrangement of your lines. This is the basic principles. Of course, every law has exceptions, but for you to create neat graphics, basically you need to follow all these principles. The next basic principle is scale and proportion, and this is really interesting. There are three main units under this basic principle. The first one is the size. Look at this, it looks like a histogram. If you've worked with an histogram before, you'll see that it's arranged, or like a bar chart. See, I think this is a bar chart. It's arranged according to the size. You arrange them, you arrange them according to the sizes, according to their sizes, and then you create this relationship between them. So this looks more like a logical presentation of different elements of your design according to their size. You're using size right now as your factor for relationship. And if you look at this, like I want you to say, look closely, you will see that the spaces between each element on this bar chart is uniform. So you don't have a distortion in the mind of your client. The second one is the ratio. Under the scale and proportion, we have ratio. Don't forget, we are having this is under proportion. So it's about relationship between one element and the other. The second one is ratio. Elements related to each other in a ratio appear together in visual harmony. What do you observe in this set of boxes? Well, my observation is that this is the biggest box. The next to each size is like 3/4 or something around that range of the next size. So look at this. It's not really like half, maybe 4/5 or 3/4. Maybe 4/5 or 3/4. And then you see it. This is the next one to this. It's not like half of it. It's something like 4/5 or something, or 3/4, whatever you choose to be. But I see them as being uniform up until the very, very last one. There is something about this arrangement that makes you to begin to understand how it is organized. And check out what I said before. the space among them is the same. This you need to put into careful consideration when you begin to design. Spacing, at some point we'll talk about negative space and positive space. However, it makes your design, it gives you this kind of professionalism, it gives you this kind of it gives the impression that you know what you're doing. It gives the impression that you know what you're doing. So if you have shapes, you have elements that are in a certain constant ratio of one another, you need to arrange them properly, that it's going to show a visual representation that they are actually arranged the same way. The third one is divisions. These create focal points that automatically give a sense of the relationship. This is a third of this. This is a third of this. If you look at it, this is a third of this. So you will understand it clearer as time goes on. I'm sure you will get the differences. Now, what this is saying is about grouping, is about understanding how to put your elements together that form an understandable visual representation. I don't know if you have seen different designs that confuse you. You pick up, for example, a flyer about maybe a program, an event, whatever it is, and you just don't seem to understand what is the main focus. You maybe pick up an infographic, for example, and you're not able to even pick what is what, the relationships between all the elements on the page, and this confusion comes in. What I tell people all the time is that for a flyer, especially, the average human being doesn't have more than 30 seconds to understand the flyer. Yes, 30 seconds. He will go into further details to understanding it if he can get a visual attraction and a sense of organization on it. Understanding these principles give you a sense of organization in your designs. The next principle is dominance stroke emphasis. Dominance and or emphasis. The first one is the highlight. You have a group of shapes. This is the first one. So breaking the visual hierarchy using form to lay emphasis. This is explained this way. Maybe you have a lot of things you're talking about in your design. So what do? Since all are carries a certain shape, you use your shape to lay emphasis on your key point, like the object, subject, object, predicate, and all that. And then the object is what you are talking about. All of this are like adjectives qualifying this. If you keep all of them in the same shape, you will lose the sense of highlight. You will lose the sense of emphasis that you want to create this. So sometimes you use a shape that is different from what is in existence, from others, in order to draw attention, specific attention to what you want to emphasize. Secondly, when you may have all of them as the same shape or the same appearing the same way, but then you use color to lay emphasis on the element you want to lay emphasis on. Maybe you're talking about 5 footballers, but then you want to highlight the striker. So you say, okay, although this document is about footballers, this website is about footballers, but I want you to know that among all footballers, there is a footballer. I like Austin J.J. Okocha, so I say, among the set, that won you Tunisia 94, I want to talk about the dribbling of Austin Okocha. So I changed his jersey from the usual green. I changed it to pink. This is magenta actually. You get to all of this later. So using a different color to distinguish between elements in a series of similar forms. Then size. We can't talk about size enough, but under dominance and emphasis, you have lots of same shapes, but there is an object. So instead of using a shape, you can see even among all these shapes, the box, the box, yes, is still basically of the same circumference with all of that. Maybe the area, if you calculate the area, is basically same area. But here you are using shape to emphasize and to draw attention. So the bigger the shape, the more the attention you want to put across. But I tell you, don't make the mistake of putting the lowest of what you want to pay attention to, and then you give the biggest size. So what this means is this: we're talking about the same thing. However, we are drawing attention to some, the same shapes of course, but we want to draw attention to some and not to others. And this way, we don't just want to draw attention to others the same way. What's the difference between color and size under this basic principle? In color, they are all the same. Basically, they are all the same except for the pink one. Meaning that aside this pink one, just look at every other circle as the same. Give them equal attention. But for size, you're saying all of them are going to get different attention. They are going to get different emphasis depending on their shape. So the first thing on the list of priorities is this one. It is second to none. It has none like it in this whole page. So this is the top priority for you. And then this is the next in line. This is the next in line. Take note that there is no other shape like this. This is the next in line. And then thirdly, this is next in line. So all these, I think this is still slightly bigger than this. So this is next in line. After this, pay attention to these three. Pay close attention to these three. After this, pay attention to this one. After that, pay attention to this one. After that, these two are basically same. And then after that, pay attention to these last two. So you are having them in groups based on their sizes, and then the attention is paid to them according to how they are. Now, the next basic principle that will give you the sense, that will give your audience the sense that you're really a professional and you know what you're doing, is similarity stroke contrast. The first one is light and dark. Clear foreground and background separation lend contrast between elements. I put this example there. Look at the black on white. They're so different. You can't miss it. You can't really miss it. And look at the white on black. It gives your audience this sense of attention. It draws attention. You can't miss it. You can't miss it. And then you're having a dark color on a bright color, or a bright color on a dark color. It gives a visual expression. It gives this visual attention that draws attention to what you are trying to express. So there isn't this disconnect between the designer and the audience. And I must tell you, a lot of times, a very, very lot of times, you cannot be present with your consumer to explain what you're trying to do. So you have to use these principles clearly so that you don't confuse your consumer. And the next one is the line. Element of varying textures and forms bring about a contrasting effect. If you have this somewhere, you have these and these, it's so clear that we are talking about three different lines. You just distinguish them from one another. Of course, they could be formed from the same shape, but you are passing across the message that these aren't the same things. I'm going to ask you again, this is the end of the second module. How far can you go? How far do you think you can really go? I can tell you, based on my experience, there is no limit to how far you can go or what you can become as a graphic designer. The results you will obtain from this course are in your hands. We are ready. We are poised to deliver to you all that we could ever deliver to you, all we have picked up in this life. Desire and tenacity are your best tools. Everything else falls in place. If you have any questions for me, please send them to my email, or you can comment in the comments section of this video, and then I'll be there to answer. These are further readings. They will be on the comments under this video. You can pick them up, and then you see some of the things, further reading and some further explanations. You are required to answer some questions. So it's just a small quiz based on what you have just watched. That link also is available under the comment section, and you'll get your score immediately. I want to thank you so much for your time. This has been the basic principles of design presentation. Take your time if you don't mind watching them over and over, but I want to encourage you, take time to read the further readings. Just check out those links. You will have some explanations. I'm always here for you. My name is Ayodeji Ebado. I wish you the very best in life. Have a wonderful time.